Hello and welcome to this fourth edition of Mission Education.
Train up your child. I'm Teresa Murnock.
And I'm Adam Forster. Great, so we have a phenomenal show today.
Yes, I'm really excited to explain accreditation for families, how that affects your high school graduate, if it affects your high school graduate, if your school is accredited, or if you're a homeschool student and want to go to college.
Right.
So we want parents to be very knowledgeable about what does this mean if your school is not accredited or if you choose to homeschool your child.
Right. So first of all, what is accreditation? In a very brief...
Yeah, so what accreditation is like kind of like OSHA to other organizations. It's an organization that makes sure that your educational school, your school runs well.
Right.
So it has the standards by which you are to operate.
Okay, so it's sort of like you want to go to a doctor who's passed his boards and is certified so that you know you're getting a good product. Now, so not all the schools are accredited.
True, and this is something that parents need to be aware of. Public sector, this is also true. Not all public sector schools are accredited. Now, of course, the goal is that all public sector schools become accredited, and there's, obviously the check boxes that they have to, meet, right, for the standards.
Yeah.
But now the question is, if a student attends a non-accredited public high school, will they be able to go to college?
That's a great question, right?
Many parents just assume that their public sector school is accredited.
Yeah, I mean, you would assume that's what your tax dollars are going towards.
Right, and accreditation also is tied to funding.
Right.
So you also need to understand that as well. Okay, so there's so much to accreditation in essence of when they have those standards, does the school meet those standards? What funding do they receive because they met those standards? FYI, also administration jobs are tied to that.
Interesting.
So I do want to explain, diploma, what a diploma is in our Virginia Department of Ed standards of the diploma, because this is something that I want parents to know is when, for instance, if your student gets what's called a standard diploma, what courses does the state say is the standard to achieve that? It's 22 credits, okay, 22 credits, and 4 English, 3 math, 3 science, 3 history, geography, 2 foreign language, and then they lump together the CT fine art for 2, health and PE 2, and econ finance, and 4 electives equals 22 credits for a standard diploma. When I called around, I did some research on different universities. And I really want parents to understand the different pathways to get your child to college. So, Adam, you have an understanding with college and cost. Can you just explain how that can be a hindrance to our children, or, why we want to be really savvy about how we achieve the education like a college degree?
Well, I think it's super important. Right now, the world is in massive flux because of artificial intelligence. So we have to be very, very cognizant that a college degree may have no value in the coming years. College degrees can be exceptionally expensive, and it can be a lifetime of debt. So you have to be careful how you plan it out, why you're going to college, and what's the best, most economical route that you're going to go, and are they always the same in the standards that they expect from an applicant to come in? So yes, accreditation is a very big part of that. Or so we assume.
Can be.
Right? Can be, right?
I'll caveat can. And why I say can is I have seen institutions that are accredited operate very poorly.
Very, very poorly.
And I'll share just as an x-ray tech. So that's my background. And we would have our, JACO, I believe it was, would come in and observe, to make sure that we were operating by standard. Now, I will share that the week before they came, we were hustling to make sure the department looked good. This is the inside stuff nobody talks about. True organizational health is routine maintenance. We evaluate constantly how we're doing. Accreditation and those organizations that just say, okay, checkbox, you have this standard. Let's be honest, a lot of organizations will just do the 2-week rush before they show up to evaluate, to make it look clean and shiny, and then they go back to operating like normal.
Right.
What really matters is the intention of the organization itself. the intention of the hospital, the intention of the company, the intention of the school. And if they are not saying every day we aspire to do well, every day we walk through that door and we do it to the best of our abilities. And that means hiring staff that have that kind of intentionality.
Exactly. And really, an accreditation standard should be the very baseline. If a school isn't seeking to exceed and to keep pushing and to keep intentionally looking for ways that they can improve and hire better people, train up their staff better, keep moving forward, because let's face it, accreditation doesn't mean what it used to, right? A high school diploma doesn't mean what it used to, because as student scores went down and their achievement went down, they shifted the goal line. They made it easier and easier.
Yeah, shifting the goal line is something that we don't talk about either. It's so when someone says, oh, I graduated from an accredited high school, we've seen that standard be subpar, in our opinion, based on what we want for King's Christian Academy and for our students. And so, parents, again, we really want, I say this all the time, be the standard. You are the standard of excellence for your child.
Yes.
If you're saying, I want you to be thorough, I want you to spell correctly, I want you to dig deep here, I want you to do the research on your own, I want what you produce to be your own. You set that in your child, they will be successful.
What's funny? So I correspond with my mother quite often by email, and she has a high standard. So when I write her an email, it's like I'm writing to a college professor. Everything's well spelled. I use good grammar, just because she has a high standard. And it's a good thing. High standards are really good. Expectations of your children should exceed what the high school expects.
What is the reason for the standard is another question, too.
Yeah.
We ask a lot of our kids because we want them to communicate well.
Yes.
A lot of again, our youth are being trained to do the text talk. And they think that that's appropriate to hand in on a paper. And again, we talked about our standards, and I'm like, listen, if we're going to ask a question, this year we said we want them to reply with the question, the content of the question in their answer in a full sentence and spelled correctly. So when their answer is given, it's worth several points. Several points, not just one, several, because we're checking several different factors about the answer that they're giving.
Yeah. Yeah. So, an education is not a piece of paper. It's not that you spent 4 years or 12 years and got this piece of paper. It's a process which you went through, which developed your character and developed your mind. Yes, right? If that's not happening, it's more than just learning. It's the ability to think critically. If that's not part of the process, then there's something very lacking. And we see that everywhere these days. People are not able to think for themselves. They just go along with the herd mentality.
There are, and a lot of parents' fear is if my child doesn't attend accredited school, they will not get funding. That's also not true. Now, there's certain organizations that say, yes, we require an accredited diploma, but that's not true of all organizations that provide loans and grants and scholarships. Okay, so you have to do your research. And again, this ties back to being knowledgeable about what's out there. And again, I just want to share about Mary Washington. So I got a hold of Mary Washington and I wanted to know what was their standard for accepting a high school student that's graduated. So they look, if you take your SAT or ACT, they look at those scores. FYI, so this is something else to discuss, is that SAT week is, and the SOLs can be very stressful for students. Okay, those big tests that everything seems to be hinged on. So if your student has poor testing, they don't do well on tests for whatever reason, I do want you to know there's another way. So they also said if they take dual enrollment classes, and again, towards the associate's degree, get as close as you can to the associate's degree, they will also accept that.
Right. So they're duly enrolled in high school and also in a local community college.
And it's the community college. So FYI, our local Virginia State community colleges will transfer credits to, there's a list. If you go under Virginia Community Colleges, you'll see the list of colleges that guarantee credit transfer. So again, okay, fine, take your SAT, the score will be on that. Do dual enrollment, and then that demonstrates your proficiency to be able to roll into a college course at their school because
Right.
you've already taken transferable credits. So there's a couple ways to be creative here. So did they say, oh, Mary Washington say you didn't come from an accredited high school? No, we will not accept students? Absolutely not. There's several ways to become a student at Mary Washington. And parents, we just want you to know that. On top of that is your AP courses, advanced placement courses that your high school student can take. My daughter did AP English, and you have to take an exam at the end of the course, and she scored a 5. And that's the highest you can score. And Germana counted 2 college English courses for her 5.
Wow.
Which was awesome.
Okay.
Evie was like, check.
And how did she take those AP courses?
So she took them online.
Online. So
Kingslake partners with organizations that have other courses available because we don't teach the AP courses. We just don't have enough staff to do that. And there's special requirements if you're going to be an AP instructor. So I partnered with an online school that offers that. So Evie did it online.
So that's great. So she saved a lot of time and a lot of money. And then once you have an associate's degree from a community college, Virginia says that you have a B average, then you are able to transfer to any of the universities in the Virginia college university system, in the state system.
So again, accreditation doesn't matter there.
Not at all. Yeah.
Your student's ability to demonstrate that they can do the work is what matters.
Yes, right.
Now, again, true. If the school is accredited and the student graduated from an accredited school, it says, I can. Now, I also want you to think about the fact that how many kids attend accredited high schools, go to college, and flunk out.
What do they say, 66%?
It's a high percentage.
Yeah, the vast majority of students will flunk out.
And colleges are getting savvy to the point, like homeschooling has just gone through the roof, right?
Absolutely.
And so thousands of youth are homeschooling in the state of Virginia. Colleges are becoming very aware that these are very motivated individuals.
Who exceed any of the standards of public school.
And they are scoring higher than most public school.
Now, I do want to go back to the standardized scoring, the SAT and the ACT. Now, during the COVID years, Harvard, Princeton, all those schools did away with them. They
waived them.
Right? They waived them, thinking, oh, well, we'll just rely on the transcripts, and if they're the valedictorian of their high school, then they're very well educated. Well, turned out not to be. That the standards of the public schools have gone so low that even the best of the best were coming out reading at a 3rd or 4th grade level. And so they've reinstituted these standardized tests so they can gauge if they're actually going to be successful in college.
So this is something else I want parents to be aware of, is that Virginia has recently instituted that next year your standards of learning are going to be a part of your student's grade. Now, we have a friend who's in public sector, and he disclosed that, like, again, the 2 weeks up to the SOLs, everybody is sweating it. They're miserable, they're unhappy, administration is sweating it because their jobs are tied to SL scores.
Right, yeah.
But now the thought process behind the SOLs becoming part of the student's actual end grade was that the students would take it more seriously. I don't think that's the answer. If they have shifted the goal line of the standards of education, and again, the SOLs maybe haven't followed that, and they're seeing unsuccessful students in the SOLs, it might be because they've shifted so much down here. These kids truly aren't prepared. And then on the other side, there's the other thought that, well, now they're just teaching towards the SOL, teaching towards the test. We have that conversation as well. But you've not focused on making a well-rounded individual.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Now, I went to the British system for half of my high school, and it was teaching to the test. It was what was called the O level. This is a long time ago. They changed the name, and they made it easier because kids were not doing very well. And so for 3 years, because high school's 5 years in England, for 3 years, it was all about learning for this test. So for 2 out of the 3 years, we really didn't do anything. And nothing mattered. It was just passing that test. I don't remember a thing from those 3 years. It was just retain that information long enough to put it on paper for the big testing, and then you're done. There was no development of character. There was no true learning. It was not an education. It was get through a test.
As an X-ray tech, we had to take our boards. A lot of medical people have to take boards.
Yes.
And then you have to do a certain amount of continuing education credits every year. You know, my boards, I remember sweating it so hard and, you know, just praying, please God, let me do well. And that didn't make me an excellent X-ray tech. It really didn't. You know, what it was getting into the field, the hands-on work, the practical application of that. I was a clinical instructor, and I would tell the students, I know that you're gaining like foundational information right now in your school, but the reality is you're not going to be proficient between 3 and 5 years of you being in your field.
Yeah.
You know, to get very, very comfortable. So anyways, but I want to continue to talk about just what the requirements of colleges are, because I want to dispel this, like they have to go to an accredited school to be able to get accepted into college. So I also went into, I called Liberty. And Liberty is obviously very homeschool friendly. And so again, does not require, now they will say, I'm going to caveat this, on their website it says required high school diploma from accredited school. That's like, I'm like, it's a little I called them out on it. I said, it's a little misleading.
Yeah.
You know, because you accept non-accredited students from high schools that are non-accredited. I said, FYI, one of my students came to your school.
Yeah.
And also you accept homeschool students. I think you need to make this very clear on your website.
It should, yeah.
All the different ones on that same page, instead of making parents dig to find that, oh, you don't really have to graduate from an accredited school to attend Liberty. What you do need, again, is to have a diploma that you've covered the basic state standards, the math, the English, the sciences, the electives. They want to see that you've hit these top subject content matter, right? Doesn't have to be accredited. On the other side of that, you know, they want to see a well-rounded student.
They do, yeah.
There's an app called, I believe it's called Raise Me, and this is a way for your students to get money towards college. If they go on to Raise Me, you plug in everything that your child achieves, be it sports, be it music, be it service hours, be it your education, and colleges are looking for the well-rounded student. So this is something I just want parents to pay attention. I know the accreditation is touted, but on Raise Me, they never asked that.
Interesting.
They never asked that, and colleges are giving money to students on this Raise Me app as they acquire all this experience because they're looking for a well-rounded student.
So there's also, when you're applying to universities, I think actually setting up an interview. If your student, your child is well educated and hasn't gone to an accredited school, the interview can make all the difference in the world. Those people have a lot of influence with the admission board.
And you have to ask questions.
Yes.
You know, ask those questions about the well-roundedness. And even in the state standards of math, science, history, it doesn't specifically say it has to be biology. It has to be this, that, and the other thing. Now, they want to see something that's more, we had this discussion at KLCA because I wanted to bring in the homestead science.
Right. Because
we want our students to know how to actually take care of themselves.
And you know, it's funny, but when you see the practical application of science, so in homestead science, you're going to talk about fertilizer, and then you're going to talk about elements like nitrogen, right? So all of a sudden, you're taking something that's very esoteric and academic, and you're bringing it into the real world, and you're handling it. All of a sudden, it becomes real, and the education actually sinks into the brain, as opposed to just circles around here a couple of times and goes.
I think that truly our students who take the homestead science will remember that far more than they'll remember their chemistry. But again, college's mentality is like, we want the academia heady concept. We feel that push to push them that way, but I just want parents to know, they just say math, science, you know, history, what can that look like? So even for King's Light Christian Academy, we were like, okay, what history courses, geography courses? So we do cultural geography. And I was looking at forgive me, I think it was world history and American government. I said, you know what? I really want our children to understand about our country, the way that it runs.
Yes.
They're the next generation that's going to step up in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So I took out world history and I put in American history, because knowing where we came from, why we came from, the foundation we did, is so important for us to make wise decisions moving forward.
I agree. It's good to have. I mean, if you don't know about your own country and your own history, then you're much more easily to be manipulated. Much easier to go the wrong track. It is yes. So it's better to have a deeper knowledge about a specific topic than think you know a little about everything. I took Chinese history at George Mason University, and the professor told me. No, it was an English class, and this lady said she used to teach Chinese history. She then went to China, and she came back and says, I am never teaching Chinese history again, because she realized she had been so wrong. And this is at the university level. So yeah, I think we need to be very cautious about certain information and the way it's presented in certain textbooks.
Now, I've shared, I believe, in a previous podcast about HEAV, Homeschooling Education Association of Virginia. I think this is an excellent resource for parents, because they also, where mainstream culture, and we've had this huge push, right, towards college has to be accredited, blah, blah, blah. They dispel these things, and they give you like the facts, like what are the creative ways that your child, if they want to go to college, can do it without spending a fortune, you know, that you parents don't have to stress too hard about what their high school education looks like, and dispel the lie that if they don't come from an accredited program that they're not going to be accepted into college. So HEAV, I encourage parents to look into them. Now, I also checked out when Liberty did its, requirement from a accredited high school, and I was like, man, I just wish you would say like, what other options, on that same page. Yeah. But regardless, they went through the whole list of the accrediting bodies that they accept from. So ACSI is one of the most popular ones for Christian schools. So I want to talk a little bit about what does that standard look like? And I always keep abreast of these things, because we're not, as I've said this before, Kingside Christian Academy is not accredited. There's intentionality behind that, because with accreditation also comes control. So it's also, regardless of saying we have a standard, it also means that the school cannot be flexible. Now, ban or close, we talked about that our last podcast. And due to the lack of finding, to my understanding, staff that were able to be hired under the accreditation standard, I can say that our talented staff don't have the teaching certificate, and they're amazing teachers. I have found that just because you have a certificate doesn't mean you're a good teacher. I've seen it work quite oppositely. Just because you have that stamp doesn't mean you do it well. As an X-ray tech, just because, again, Jacob would come through, it didn't mean every single one of my team members every day made sure the rooms were clean after every patient. You know what I mean? The standards, they didn't uphold those standards every day.
Right.
That's an intentionality of the individuals that you pick to put on your team. I think accreditation can limit who you put on your team. And that's not good. No,
we're a Christian entity. And you just see people who are anointed as teachers, right?
That's it, the anointing. Yes.
They are called. They were created. They are phenomenal. And like Neil was an amazing teacher, right? Yes. He wasn't board certified.
Had a heart for it.
Right? So
has.
Right? And so if you limit yourself to they have to have this piece of paper, then you can miss out on some of the very best. And that actually works at the employer level too. You say, oh, well, you need to have a college degree. But then you have, I used to be friends with this guy, and sadly he passed away. He worked at Rocketdyne in Orange. He was a rocket scientist. No college degree, but absolutely brilliant. And fortunately, this company recognized his brilliance and hired him anyway, because he was just, above and beyond anything that you could ever hope for.
And when it comes to being an employer and you're hiring someone, piece of paper or the way that they present themselves, you really don't know until you get them into
Yes.
the situation to see how they operate before you know if they're going to do a good job. The other side of this is when we talk about anointing, but even like the heart intentions, I say this all the time. Education is a mission field. Education is a mission field.
Yeah.
Please, churches, understand this and get behind Christian education. And if the heart only got into that for finances, I don't want them in the education field at all, because you don't understand that you're cultivating a whole individual. You're just spouting, information at them, and how much at Kings Light do we say we want quality over quantity?
Big time.
And if someone doesn't understand that, if their passion isn't to do how many hours, Adam, outside the schoolroom, if you love the children that we are entrusted with to educate, how many hours do you put in out?
So I think for every hour of instruction, 3 to 4 hours outside, grading, lesson planning, researching. I mean, so the wonderful thing about a small class size is that you can affect each individual. You can talk to them. You can focus on them. You can make sure they're comprehending. You can make sure that it's sinking into them. Time. And it really takes time.
And you care to invest the time.
Yeah.
Because you care for that youth, that child. And if they're struggling somewhere, then you're like, you can have two types of individuals. You don't pay me, I'm not doing it. Or you have the individual that goes, I believe in this mission field. I believe in this child and what they're capable of. I'll go the extra mile to make sure they're successful.
Money comes and goes.
It does.
It really does. But someone who's invested in, that's something in which I know the Lord will say, well done, my good and faithful servant.
And a piece of paper will not ensure that. That's what I want parents to understand. It's like, do a walkthrough of the school. Hear the heart of your administrator.
Yeah.
Talk to the teachers. Talk to the families that go to that school.
Are the teachers stressed out?
I mean, there's a certain level of stress just because we care. But where is the source? This is something else. Is like when we talk to our friends from public sector, like all the different policies and things that are on top of them all the time and the additives, it's overwhelming for them, in my personal opinion. And
they've taken any joy out of teaching. And teaching is and should be a joyful experience.
Yes. And so, okay, I want to talk about ACI standards.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to walk down through this.
What is ACI?
The accrediting body for the Christian schools.
Okay.
Association of Christian School International, to say it correctly. So these are their top standards. Mission, beliefs, and foundations. The school operates from a written mission and statement of faith that outline as a biblical foundation and beliefs. The school identifies and assesses its expected student outcomes and uses results to drive decisions throughout the operations and the programs. Okay, so indicators, is our mission statement biblically founded? Is it evident, our mission statement, throughout the programs that we utilize and promoted by leadership? School assesses academic and non-academic expectations of students' outcomes to result and drive the decisions throughout operations and programs. Spiritual formation and biblical worldview. The school facilitates spiritual formation of students, provides opportunities for discipleship and outreach, fosters development of a biblical worldview, spiritual growth towards maturity in Christ is a priority throughout the school program, regularly assessed and is modeled by staff.
That's excellent.
Yes. Here's my question though. Do I need an accrediting body in a Christian school to tell me that our foundation is discipleship towards Christ? I would think that'd be like number one. Okay. What else we got here? The governance and leadership. The school has a Christ-centered governing body and is responsible to establishing governance policies, participates in strategic planning, and advance organizational effectiveness. The head of the school works collaboratively with the school leadership to implement policies, procedures, supportive, effective instructional practices, and drive school improvement. That's a big one. And I will tell you, the big shift for us was making sure that we had servant leadership in our board. Because we wanted healthy relationships between the board and our team.
Yes.
So important. So our board manual got rewritten this year. And let's see what else we have on there. Caring environment and positive school culture. The school develops a Christ-like culture in which staff and students demonstrate respect, sensitivity, and responsiveness to individual needs and differences.
Again, this should be, right? I mean,
I mean, again, I get it. Like, if you require something that tells parents they check the box, but I'm telling you, parents, just because that stamp is on there does not mean that's the way it operates.
Right, lip service, right?
It can be absolute lip service.
Yeah.
Stakeholder engagement. The school engages stakeholders in ways that develop community, promote accountability, and improve institutional effectiveness. So I just want you to understand, like, regardless of ACSI's standards and your accreditation checkbox, I will tell you, it's the heart of the school. It's the intentionality of the people there. Just because they have this checkbox does not mean they operate this way on a day-to-day basis. So parents, you have to have the conversation with your kids. How is school going? How is the environment there? How are you steering towards Christ? The most rewarding thing, in my opinion, at KLCA, is when a parent tells me, I won't share names, but like a mom told me the grandparents of one of our students was thrilled to see their grandchild steering towards Christ, building a better relationship with the Lord, right? We have another child, the parent accredits them coming to KLCA, saving their life because we steered them towards the Lord. Right. And that child was willing to take those. That's the other side of it. I mean, you have to be willing to take the steps, right? Right. But how rewarding and validating that we have done our job.
And that's really it. And in this day and age, we don't know what the world is going to look like in 5 years. We don't know what the employment field is going to look like in 5 years. We don't know if any kind of certification from an education institution is going to have any merit whatsoever.
If you're using AI, poof.
Right, but companies are going to start using AI that they're seeing dramatic shift now in employing, and it's affecting doctors, accountants, truck drivers, and so on. But if they come out with a character developed and a work ethic and a desire to do all things unto Christ, that will stand them way better than an MBA. It's like, what is the most value, right? It's one, knowing Jesus. I mean, that number one, that's the only thing of eternal value. Having a good, strong work ethic, knowing that you can undertake any challenge, that comes from character. So it is really always about character, faith, and then learning. You know, knowledge is sick. The ability to take on challenges, which comes from doing hard things, which comes from a good education.
There is a way the world will say an organization needs to run, be it leadership or whatever. And then there's a way that God says. And of course, you know, there's the scripture of like, if you're under this authority, God has put it in place and you should abide. I'm going to make sure parents understand that if it steers away from God and God's desires, abide. You know, then you go, God says this. So if your Christian school is not operating the way God says to operate within the body of Christ, because you are the body of Christ first. I don't care what accrediting body stamp you have. If you're not operating to say, we are brothers and sisters in Christ, Dad says operate this way. If that's not what you pull back to every time, it's a problem.
It is a problem. And also same with public school, right? If you find that they're actually pushing a child away from Jesus, and there's only two directions you go in life, I'm sorry. So you're either going towards Jesus or you're going towards Satan, right? I mean, it's just two directions. So be very careful about the influence.
So, okay, parents, another dispelling is my student will not be able to get loans or funding for college. That also is not true. Now, of course, some funding resources say you have to have accreditation, high school graduate transcript. Okay, FAFSA, FAFSA, free application for federal student aid. You don't have to graduate from an accredited high school to achieve that. Pell Grants, work-study programs. That's something else I want to talk to parents about as well, which UVA has pay, work, learn. Forgive me, I'm going to scroll down to where I put that because I want to speak to specifically what it is. Aha, UVA Earn While You Learn program. I just recently came across that they have an apprenticeship program, 4 years, that is HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. They pay, I believe, $45,000 a year to train you for 4 years.
That's not bad.
Not too shabby. Instead of going to college, coming out with
hundreds of thousands of debt.
Okay, so let's look at the average college cost. So this is, parents, I'm just trying to give you information to help you understand. You don't have to be funneled one direction. There's so many options. So the average cost of a state tuition for Virginia college is around $14,000 to $14,000 starting, $28,000 if you live on campus. FYI, UVA, $60,000 a year. Now, if you're going for a bachelor, add that up. That's 4 years. Okay, you're looking at $100,000.
$250,000, right?
A lot of money that your child is.
Yeah. And then there's plus on top of that.
Of course, plus. All right. So UVA has the Earn While You Learn program. Please look into that. So they do have, again, UVA will pay full-time 36 hours per week, salary and benefits from day one. UVA will also cover any expenses for your training, including certificate exam fees. They do have, so again, phlebotomy technician, certified medical assistant, sterile processing. They have advanced programs, nursing, surgical tech, medical lab assistant, MRI technologist. You have to go to the, you get your base courses out with Piedmont Virginia Community College, and then they transfer over. Like we talked about, the community college credits transfer, right, to all Virginia. Maybe not.
It's such a great way to go. 2 years at a community college and then transfer.
So again, parents, DE looks really good in the high school years to be able to push towards college.
DE, dual enrollment.
Dual enrollment, forgive me. Yes, I'll clarify. Okay, so there's that program. Those exist. Apprenticeship programs, you get paid while you get educated. UVA has this for the medical field also, so not just trades. And then my sweet friend, I didn't know about it. She's like, Tia, it came up because she asked me to pet sit for her for a weekend. She's like, I didn't really tell everybody, but I graduated college. I got my bachelor's. And I was like, what? Why didn't you tell everybody? I'm so excited for you. So she turned me on to this gentleman who does a consulting business. It's called College Hacked, HACKED. So what they do is they work with programs, and forgive me if you don't know, like there's these online programs to get credits called Sophia, Coursera, Study.com. So what he does is he finds colleges that will accept credits from these online programs and then transfer into the college. Now, typically the universities will say, well, we want 30 of the credits to come from us, but the rest of the 120 can come from these other programs. So let me just tell you a little bit about something about Coursera.
So they really only want a quarter of the credits to be homegrown, and 3/4 can come from an online place.
So, okay, a gentleman finished his bachelor's in 17 months for $3,500.
So less than 2 years.
Uh-huh.
For how much again?
$3,500. So my sweet girlfriend, I forget, she only had like, again, maybe like the 30 credits or something of that sort because she had attended college earlier. And in a 6 months' time, and she worked hard. I'm not saying that this doesn't
work. That became her job, right?
It became her job. This is something where I will tell you, like, it's possible, but you have to be dedicated. And I think she acquired her bachelor's in 6 months. She went up to Maine and walked and had her bachelor's. And what was the motivation behind that is because she wanted to be able to see job advancement. Again, this is where the piece of paper, people are like, oh, do you have your bachelor's? You know what I mean? Do you have this degree? And she just was like, I think this is the wise decision so I don't get passed over for promotion. But she didn't want to spend a fortune. She's got a daughter that's in high school going to be going to college herself. So again, what's the smartest way to achieve the education, which won't put you in debt for forever?
And that's important is, do I need a college degree, right? You actually have to look at the map. Do I need a degree to go where I want to go? Many times you don't. Again, employers are less and less enthusiastic about a college degree because it's now more about certificates. My brother went to a very expensive 4-year school. After that, he was hired by an Indian firm, and they trained him for 6 weeks in India to do the job. So none of what he learned in 4 years counted really for anything. So we have to be constant. Do I need a degree? If I need a degree, where should I go? What's the quickest way I can do it that will be recognized? And therefore, this person's helped figure it out.
I'm an X-ray tech running a school. That's founded a school and running a school. I read a lot. I find the books. I have done, Coursera courses. I have gone to our library, has universal classes, learned QuickBooks that way. I took a QuickBooks course. So what are we training people up to be seekers? And if you're going to seek and get the education, parents, I just want you to know there's not just one way. It doesn't have to come from an accredited body, your student's high school diploma. Colleges are looking for a well-rounded student. Ask those questions. And like I said, there's Raise Me, where you can just track everything they do during high school, and colleges will reward that based on what they acquire. And it's based not just on academia, but it's on their well-roundedness with arts and service and things along that nature. So Sophia, Coursera, Study.com are 3 that you can take online courses and can be transferred over to college credit. Again, College Hacked is the gentleman that will do the consultation. They'll work with you to figure out what's the cheapest way and the fastest way for you to get that education, and which college will work with you for those online courses. Now, what's the average, and this is something I just want to point out, what's the average course at a college cost?
Oh boy.
Do you know?
3,000?
One class can cost between, 300, depending on the school, all the way up to 3,000. Okay. Yeah. So these programs, Sophia, $99 a month. You can take as many courses as you like.
That's amazing.
So ask how my girlfriend managed that in such a short amount of time. She was hammering out the courses. You got for $100 a month. I mean, she's like, sorry. I mean, they had that conversation with her family. You know what I mean? Like, okay, mom's going to dedicate time to do this. She has got to set aside X amount of hours a night, and she is hunkered down, studying, reading, doing the work.
What a great investment in time.
But $99 a month. Okay, so let me just, Coursera has tiers, $49.79 a month, $59 a month, $3.99 a year. Study.com is self-paced, just FYI, self-paced college credit for 230 courses that they offer, but I didn't see where they said the cost on Study.com. Parents, there are just more ways than one. If you want your child to go to college, to do it effectively, with high standard, with it not costing a fortune. And so I just don't want parents to be afraid that they're getting pigeonholed. They can only send their child here.
Right.
That is not true. And quite frankly, again, just because it has the accreditation stamp
doesn't mean you're getting quality.
Doesn't mean you're getting quality.
Yeah.
It's the intentional heart of the organization that you are sending your child to. And if you do not have the conversation, if you do not do the research yourself, let me just tell you, there's no guarantee. There
are no guarantees. There's one other thing. If cost is an issue, there are many ways to raise money to go. There are definitely all these different scholarship funds. I think the Veterans Association of America, all these different organizations actually have, $4,000, $5,000.
Private institutions.
Yes. My favorite story is a lady named Erica Harold, who she got accepted to Harvard Law School. But it's expensive. So she looked around, she realized that the Miss America competition pageant had a scholarship fund. So she won Miss America to pay for Harvard. Brilliant person.
I have a friend's daughter. She became a nurse practitioner, not 1 ounce of student debt. Because what she did is she made it her job outside to look for scholarships and grants. And that's the side. It's like, if you're willing to do the work, if your child's willing to write the essay, so many are not willing. She was awarded left and right because no one else even tried.
I believe it.
No one else applied. She's like, okay, you know what I mean? And she had nurse practitioner, I think it was like six years of education, 0 debt.
Wow.
It is possible. Put the time and work in. Do the research.
Yeah.
collegehack.com, parents, look into it.
Absolutely.
You know, is it worth paying just to get a consultation to say, what's the creative way to get my child an education? They won't be in debt for the rest of their lives. Please do the research.
All right. Well, I think this brings us to the end of the show.
It does.
Accreditation is not the be-all and end-all.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's becoming less and less meaningful as standards have slipped and slipped and slipped.
Mm-hmm.
There are many routes to college. There's many routes to paying for college.
Mm-hmm.
Teresa, I know, would love to answer any of your questions if you would like to revisit with her some of the things we talked about. If you have a student looking at college next year or in a couple of years, please get a hold of us.
We have a Facebook page, Mission of Education, Train Up Your Child. I put the information from the show in the comments underneath where we share the YouTube video. So parents, please go to our Facebook page and then find the episode, and I'll put this information in there so you can find it. We also have our email. Email us, and we will reply. Like we want to be a source of encouragement for you, a source of information, so that you're not worried for your child.
Excellent. So, well, we really hope you've enjoyed this edition of Mission Education.
Train Up Your Child.
And until next time, God bless.
God bless. Thank you for coming.